Hi, I wanted to talk. Hey, I wanted to talk about Formula One car weight today. So Formula One cars are getting far. Formula One cars are getting faster and faster, but they're also getting heavier. In this video, I'll go over where all this weight is coming from and why it's inflating. I was surprised when I learned how much Formula One car weighed. I mean, I thought that with modern technology being so advanced that I could probably pick one up with one hand by now, but actually the minimum weight of a Formula One car is 740 kilos, which is about 1,600 pounds. So you can be pretty sure that Formula One cars are getting faster and faster, but they're also getting heavier. In this video, I'll go through where all this weight is coming from and also why it's inflating. I was surprised to hear, Formula One cars are getting faster and faster. They're also getting heavier and heavier though. And in this video, I'll go over where all this weight is coming from and why it's inflating. I was pretty surprised when I learned about how much a Formula One car weighed. In fact, I thought that with modern technology being what it is and with Formula One being the pinnacle of motorsport, that I could probably pick one up with one hand by now. But actually, the minimum weight of a Formula One car is 740 kilos, which is about 1,600 pounds. That being said, because this is Formula One, you can be pretty sure that those cars weigh exactly 740 kilos. Now, the car itself, without fuel that is, must weigh a minimum of 660 kilos, and the driver must weigh at least 80 kilos, which is about 180 pounds. So the reason that Formula One cars' weight is increasing is actually solely due to the regulations. As you would probably expect, with a motorsport like Formula One, the teams are actually pushing the weight down. They're trying to get the cars to be as light as possible. But F1 regulations, particularly around safety features and things, have pushed the weight up over the years. So in the 70s and 80s, cars weighed actually around 500 kilos. Depending on the season, it fluctuated. And that didn't include the driver. So you're comparing this number, that 500, to the 660 that they now weigh without the driver. In 1995, however, that changed to 595 kilos, including the driver. F1 being what it is, there are all sorts of hacks around driver weight and things that led to cheating, disqualification, and all the usual good stuff that we watch Formula One for. Between 1995 and this increase to 595 kilos and the inclusion of driver weight in the weighing, nothing really happened. There was no real serious weight gain up to about 2009 when KERS was introduced. So when KERS was introduced, KERS is quite heavy, and so the weight limit was increased 10 kilos to 605 kilos. However, KERS was heavy and unreliable at this point. So heavy and so unreliable and so expensive to develop that in 2010 all of the teams agreed that nobody would put KERS in their cars, because essentially, even if you managed to get a working system, which many of them didn't, it was likely to fail in the race, and so you'd just be lugging around 30 kilos of kind of scrap metal, which is not something you want in a Formula One race. 2010, all of the teams agreed nobody's going to use KERS. But to kind of counter this, the body governing Formula One added an extra 15 kilos to the minimum weight requirement to incorporate the KERS weight. So weight stayed the same for a couple of years until 2013, when it was increased to 642 kilos. Then, with the advent of the V6 hybrid era, in 2014 it was increased to 691 kilos. Remember, this is including driver weight, of which there wasn't necessarily a limit at this point, but it was including driver weight. And of course, with the advent of the V6 hybrids and this massive increase in weight, that's 50 kilos in 1 year, power became all the more important. And obviously, as we know, Mercedes power units, very good. So this was kind of the beginning of their dominance. Next, in 2015, the next year, the weight limit was increased to 702 kilos to accommodate the hybrid engines, which weighed more than people had expected. At this point, teams were kind of building cars underweight and then using tungsten plates to bring the cars up to the minimum weight requirement. This had some really big advantages, the main one being that you could position those tungsten plates wherever you wanted in the car, so it would really help with balance. They kind of tried to get rid of this because it was unfair, many considered, and now that's not allowed anymore. 2017, wider wheels and tyres were introduced, and 16 kilos was added to the weight. 2018, another 6 kilos for the Halo, controversial at the time. Can't imagine anyone disagrees with it anymore. And in 2019 we went up to the current level, which is 740 kilos. There are a few places really where weight is more important than in motor racing, especially Formula One. But in the future, it looks as though cars will continue to get heavier and heavier. In fact, the 2022 regulations have introduced even heavier standard parts, and the weight limit has increased to 768 kilos, which is about 1,700 pounds. So an extra 30 kilos or 100 pounds on top of what we've got now. If you want to know more about Formula One car weight, I've written a whole article on weight, which includes things like how weight affects lap time and how some great stories on how teams and drivers have bent the rules over the years to make the most out of these limits. You can find all this at weighthq.com/F1 car weight, or just follow the link in the description. Thanks, guys.